What's up, y'all? This is EG here, and I'm gonna just give y'all a little quick rundown of what I thought of Canada. I've been to Toronto and I've been to Montreal. A lot of people have not been to both places that are from the United States. Many people think that Canada is extremely different um, than the United States, and some people think that the United States is, quite very similar to Canada, and there's, little to no change. I draw a little bit of similarities to, the way that cars drive. Obviously, still on the right side. Very similar cars, but I'll say this: got a little bit of a culture shock to how different it is in Canada. Um, let's just start things off this way. I was in Montreal, so it's a little different than Toronto. Almost everyone spoke French in Canada, and that was their main language in Montreal. And that really, threw me a little off guard because I was not expecting so many people to be speaking French in Montreal. And, when I was there, I felt a little uncomfortable not knowing French, but the people there were great. I definitely, loved and really appreciated Montreal for what it was. It was a nice, beautiful city that was pretty much a huge island. It's very similar to how New York City is built. Um, it's around the size of San Francisco or something. So or Indianapolis, it's around that size. So it was a really nice big city, and there's a lot of stuff that I believe people probably thought going in that okay, Montreal is probably this place in the middle of nowhere near this ocean, and then they have a couple decent things, but honestly, quite honestly, there's a lot of stuff that was very different. Montreal was a place that I really really enjoyed um, being in and being around the people and learning about their history and going places like that. So it was very unique to say the less. So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of things that we did when we were there. Um, we visited the famous church that was there. We went walking in the old Montreal, and we did certain things such as that. Obviously, I was down there for a basketball tournament, but here's the thing about it though. Montreal has a lot of things to do, and in terms of the differences between the United States and Canada, what you guys are here to click for, the differences that I saw were that the language, like I said, then you have the interaction between people, then you have the interaction between officials and people. So, for example, we were able to get to the Prime Minister building. That's not in Montreal, but we were able to get into that building. Right up next to it. Right near the front door. So, the White House. You have to stand hundreds of feet away from a fence and take pictures, versus being right next to the Prime Minister's house. And to me, certain things like that do draw a little bit of a parallel of difference. But, quite honestly, at the end of the day, um, I would like to compare Montreal to a lot of other Canadian cities and draw the parallel when it comes to it being very different on the fact that the interactions between police officers and people who are standing there and staff and going through customs in the airport. It's all a little different. I think people really have to get a good hold of and a good understanding of what it is to be Canadian. And, when I was there's a lot of things, marijuana is legal, prostitution is legal. A lot of things are extremely legal out there, and it's not the same here in the United States. Some states are, some states aren't. But out there, I believe that everything is legal for the reason that it's easily controlled and everything is easily contained over there. I think when it comes to people, just people in general, they will have a perception here in the United States that if you let people have a lot of freedom, they won't know how to handle it. And in Canada, I feel like they have to give these people freedom or else they'll move to the United States. I really do feel like they have that honest perception. I believe that a lot of Canadians do a good job of keeping people there by them allowing Canadians to do different things by them being more lenient, not have to be looked over. I'm not sure what the gun laws are over there, but I really feel like their gun laws are either more or less strict for a valid reason. Either they say no one has guns, or anybody can have whatever gun that they want to. And I believe that stuff like that in the United States is really hard to come by. Now, I was in a big city, and out there, either you live in a big city or you live nowhere. So, there's not a lot of whole suburbs over there, not a lot of, smaller towns over there. You're either in the country, in a vast country of somewhere, or you're in a huge metropolitan, Vancouver, Alberta, Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, you know, Quebec, city or whatever, or Montreal or some sort, so that's what you're dealing with when you're out there. And I believe that you need to have some form of draw to get people to a certain place. So now the question is, would I live in Canada? I definitely would live in Canada. That is a no question for me, no brainer for me. I believe that Canada has all the right elements of its faith, its belief in Jesus Christ is really important to me. I believe that a lot of Canadian cities have a strong feeling and a strong showing of that. I would definitely need to learn French, obviously, if I want to live there. But, it's something that, I'll be honest, there's something about Canada that I would definitely want to give a big conclusion to in terms of my life. I believe that it's very subtle, but there's still things that go on in those type of cities. Now, would I want to live out in the vast? No. I don't want to even live out in the vast in the United States, but definitely not Canada. But when it comes to being out there in Canada, I saw a ton of positives, and the United States, really needs to, pick their game up because Canada's coming. And I really believe that a lot of people are really going to start moving to Canada once, there's land lost or something happens or certain things of that, because Canada's a lot similar to the United States in certain aspects of the way of life, but not necessarily life in general, because it's very different. It's very much a different country. It's more like England than the United States. Canada's more like England than the United States. It's more like, obviously, it's more like, France, the United States. There's a lot of, different things that um, Canada really, draws that is much differently than the United States. There's a huge disparity of people over there. So, I just wanted to thank you guys for, tuning in. This was, my third episode, Canada versus the United States, and just what I think about it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in.